Happy New Year and good morning, basketball fans, and welcome to another edition of the Upstate Hoops Podcast on FingerLakes1.tv. I'm Jim Sinacropia along with Matt Verkey, and we'll take our first look at the sectional classification standings as we reach the season's halfway point. We'll update you on all the holiday tournament action this week, and we'll reveal our updated Girls Super 6 and FL1 Sports Power Rankings straight ahead on the Upstate Hoops Podcast. All right, welcome inside the FingerLakes1.tv studios early on a Sunday morning. Just got home from the Sodas Waterloo game last night, broadcast live on FL1 Sports, an overtime game between Waterloo and Sodas. We'll recap all the action, including Clyde's upset win against Minders today. And as I mentioned, we'll take a look at sectional classification standings for the first time. So welcome into the studio, Verk. How you doing this morning?
Good, Jim. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And, a lot to talk about today here. So let's get right to it with some of the results from this week in Wayne Finger Lakes action. And we'll start in the East, where Newark lost at the Rush Henrietta tournament to McQuaid 83-44. Wayne defeated Greece Olympia at their own tournament by a score of 66-38. Braden Zenilovic had 16 points and 9 rebounds in that one. Also in the Wayne tournament, Pell Mac drops a 9-point decision to College Prep despite 25 points from Holden Knorr with 7 3-pointers. Tough game for Pell Mac playing out of league, challenging themselves. That'll help them during sectionals for sure. Mid Lakes defeated Kendall 73-40, thanks to 14 points from Justin Huber. That was in Gananda. And Waterloo, who I mentioned, beat Sodas in overtime last night, now on a 3-game winning streak. They started that streak earlier this week at the Red Jacket tournament, defeating Geneva 50-49, 1-point victory in a game that was not an FL East game, as it was in the tournament. Ben Deming with 23 points and 14 rebounds in that one. Noah Barber led the Panthers with 15. And then Waterloo comes back the next day and defeats Red Jacket 72-33 in the championship game. 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks for Deming in that one. And Dan Colacerdo had 14 for Red Jacket. And Red Jacket had some nice wins in the, I think it was Naples that they beat in the West. So Waterloo really taking it to them and not looking too good for the West here. And then in the consolation, Geneva beat Williamson 63-28. Williamson a little bit improved in Wayne County, but boy, Geneva really took it to them. Tyler Tyson had 13. And then Newark falls to Pittsburgh Sutherland 60-48 in the Rush Henrietta tournament consolation. 14 points from Nate Beard, 14 points from Jose Santel. Wayne loses to College Prep in that tournament's consolation game, 60-39. And Pell Mac comes back and beats, or actually that would have been the championship game there, the College Prep defeating Wayne. And then the consolation game in the Wayne tournament, Pell Mac beat Greece Olympia 80-62. 19 points from Brandon Hawkins, 15 from Holden Knorr, 15 from Devon McLean, and 11 from Hunter Vandeveld. And then, as I mentioned last night, in overtime, Waterloo beat Sodas 57-53, behind 21 points, 12 rebounds from Ben Deming, 11.6 assists from Dikembe Ayers, 5 points, 13 rebounds from Daquan Kingston. And we had a chance to, or actually Harold Weber and Mike Alessio, who called the game, had a chance to sit down with Daquan Kingston last night, and we're going to play you that interview right now.
Well, we're back here in Waterloo. The game is over. It took overtime to decide this one in a topsy-turvy back-and-forth ball game. Waterloo winning this game 57-53. Daquan Kingston is our special guest on the post-game show. Daquan, thank you very much for coming up.
You're welcome.
Talk a little bit about the game. It looked like, for me and Mike, my commentator buddy, looked like early on, the beginning of the game, a little nerves maybe, a lot of turnovers. Nobody really got ebb and flow. And then Soda started banging home some threes. You guys obviously had to get your attention at that point.
Yeah, at the first start of the game, I mean, we had 2 wins before. We were up, we were feeling good before the game, and then things started to not go our way.
Right.
And well, what happened? We were talking in the locker room, and coach was telling us that he wants a team that we know that we can beat this team.
Mm-hmm.
So we started lifting ourselves up, lifting each other, not talking negative, positive, talking to everybody, and we got the win.
Well, certainly you had to be. You get to the point in the third quarter, all of a sudden you're down 10. And you've got a young man from the likes of Sodas, I believe his name was Johnson, who had like 3 threes in a row.
Yeah,
he was on fire.
Yeah, he was. That set us off a little bit, but we got each other back in the game.
Now, certainly, you look at your season thus far. It's no secret. A lot of us thought you'd be in the hunt in the Finger Lakes East. You're on the snide at 0-5. That surprised me and a lot of people who follow high school basketball. You've had close games. It isn't like you haven't been in them. You had close games, and now with the second half of the season, you're certainly going to turn it around and try to get some of those W's.
Definitely. At the start of the season, I mean, we were bringing our team together. Things weren't going our way, but we hit the streak that now we're on a winning streak, and we're going to try our best to keep it going.
That's right. Mike, talk about it. Coming off the Red Jacket tournament. This one.
We were talking a little bit before the game with your buddy Mark Pettifer.
Yep, definitely.
Talked to him a little bit before the game. Now, you had a great game against Red Jacket, 14 rebounds and 10 points?
Yes.
I think. Now, was that your first game that you've contributed like that this year? Or I'm assuming your role is you're coming off the bench, right?
Yeah, I'm coming off the bench. But that game, I felt that we were in the championship games. I've been practicing hard. I played good in the game, and that put me on a good set this game.
Yeah, I think you did a great job tonight. I mean, congratulations on the win for sure, but you do a great job getting some great position. Got a nice key rebound down there at the end. Good converted a foul shot on there. You got some good form. What's it like in practice? I mean, you covering Ben Deming in practice? I'm assuming that's your role in practice?
Yeah, that is my role in practice. He's a very good player.
Probably makes you a better player.
It definitely does. I mean, from coming up where I haven't really, since the sports team, I'm a bigger kid, so usually I'm the top one. I the one that not people want to go against too. But from coming to this team, from playing against somebody who is better than me, it has definitely made me a better player. I've learned new moves. I've done better with footwork, different ways to get around people. He's definitely helped me out a lot playing in practice because he's definitely an amazing player to play against.
Yeah, he's a solid player.
And by the way, you're just a junior.
Yes,
we should say. So you've got another year and you got another half and all of next year. To continue to improvise and to improve and to help this team move along. And again, I think the area is still in a state of shock when I couldn't figure out how you guys were not in the hunt in the East so far, but it's a long season.
Yes.
And, we saw Geneva stumble, and you had opportunity beating them the other night in the Red Jacket event.
Yes, we did.
But we saw Geneva all of a sudden explode a couple of weeks ago. My granddaughter's a cheerleader there, so I go up to most of their home games, and Geneva won something like 25 points over a good team. I can't remember. Wayne May was in town. The point is, you never say die. It's a long season.
Yeah, definitely. We have a long season.
Did Coach have anything to say? One key point in the first half I know was you're getting beat back on for some break points. Did he bring that up at all about the guards getting beat back on fast break points?
Yeah, he said that we need to get up on our feet more. We need to be more active and not jogging back and forth on the court. Mm-hmm. We need to sprint everywhere we go. Always play hard. Box out every player when a shot goes up.
How was practice after the winter tournament, kind of building on that momentum?
The practice after we were a little happy, so practice wasn't amazing. Mm-hmm. We thought that since we did good, we didn't have to practice or anything, but we really do need to practice hard at every practice.
Yeah,
and
you do
definitely.
Well, listen, we appreciate you taking time out after a very hectic game, a game that I know. You can keep it hectic all you want as long as you come back with the W's, and that's all the important thing tonight. So congratulations on the big win tonight. Much needed, and continued success.
Thank you.
Looking forward to watching you play.
Definitely. All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Daquan Kingston, our special guest, junior here from Waterloo, who played a pivotal role in tonight's overtime victory against the Soda Spartans as most people have cleared out of the gymnasium. That's going to be our next move.
There you have it. Daquan Kingston, newcomer to the Waterloo program. Played strong last night. on the boards. And that overtime win for Waterloo and Verk. Joe Spazzato was interviewed at halftime of that game and asked about, why the slow start for Waterloo with all this talent, and he cited chemistry issues, the same, thing that's plagued this group for the last 2 or 3 years. They got a ton of talent, but, you wouldn't – they are on a 3-game winning streak all out of the league, but 0-5 in the Finger Lakes East.
Yeah, we've talked about Waterloo obviously on the show for the last 3-4 years. They're a talented team, like you said. They just haven't gotten over that hump yet. You would think with the upperclassmen they have and the experience they have, we kind of thought that this might be the year that they do, make a run in the Finger Lakes East and put up a decent record in the East. They're struggling, but maybe now building some confidence, getting a little confidence in the new coach and the new system and things of that nature. With a big week coming up, they got Minders Friday, and that's always a big game regardless of records. So, I still look for Waterloo to win some games here in the East and, and improve as the season goes on.
Yeah, and you mentioned that game against Minders. Obviously, game on Finger Lakes 1 next Friday. Weber, Mike Alessio, and yourself be calling that one. Girls, boys doubleheader. But, I think that's a scary game for Minders coming off the loss to Clyde that we'll talk about in a little bit. It's going to be Waterloo Super Bowl. They're not going to win a league championship, and I can't imagine that they're thinking too much about sectionals either.
Yeah, I think, if I'm Ben Deming or Stenberg or, Dikembe Ayers, these kids have gotten beaten up by Minders year in and year out for their whole careers. These kids have been playing varsity for 2-3 years, and Minders has really taken it to them in just about every game, and they've been kind of lopsided. So, there's got to be a little bit of pride there. These kids aren't going to get a chance to, play Minders on their home court in Waterloo very, very often. And that game's in Waterloo, right?
Yeah, in Waterloo.
So, you're right. I think it's a huge game for those guys, and I'm sure they're looking to, get that first victory over Minders in their varsity basketball career. And, Waterloo has some pieces to match up with Minders. We saw Minders against Clyde, and Minders dominated the inside, and Waterloo with Kingston and obviously Deming inside. I think Kingston provides that other big guy that can match up with some of these Minders bigs and maybe give them some trouble.
Yeah. So let's kick it over and look at some of the results here in the Finger Lakes West. A really poor week for the West, and the way things are playing out, though, the West is looking, not too great. Started out with Genesee Valley beating HAC 71-46 at Jasper Troutsburg's tournament. Then you had Prattsburg falling to Honeoye 69-65. Honeoye moves to 5-3 with that win. Jake Soliday had 24 points. John Marble had 15. That at Prattsburg was the host, hosting that tournament. Also at Prattsburg, Naples falls in a 2-point decision to Panama to Section 6, 42-40. Zach Dormer had 15 points and 12 rebounds in that. Low-scoring game. You wouldn't think Naples could put up more than 40 points. Naples was down 7 late in the game, 40-33. Zach Dormer scored 6 straight points in the final 2 minutes and scored with 40 seconds left to tie the game at 42. Panama got the ball back and found their best player, Eddie, for a layup with 20 seconds left. Naples chose not to call timeout, went down the court to try to tie or win it. Graydon Ross missed a 3-pointer with 5 seconds left. Dormer got the rebound, couldn't put it home. And then Conrad Rathbun missed a late second tap in, a last-second tap in there. And it was Naples falling to Panama. Hammondsport defeated HAC in the consolation of the Jasper-Troutsburg tournament 47-33. Red Jacket defeated Williamson out of Wayne County at Red Jacket 54-35. Dan Brown had 18 points. And then in the consolation game in Prattsburg, it was Prattsburg defeating Naples 56-43. And Zach Dormer did not play that game, a family obligation. Andrew Fleischman led the way with 19. So 0-2 for Naples over the holiday week. And, looking at the standings in Wayne County right now, you still have that tie, or actually a half-game lead for Dundee up top. Bloomfield has been quietly hanging in there. And, while the overall quality of play, I think, in the West is down, there's a 3-team race right now for that league title.
Yeah, Naples obviously had a tough week there, but they were both out-of-league games, obviously. And, it's kind of surprising. Honeoye beats Prattsburg, but then Prattsburg came back and beat Naples. And obviously Naples was down a player, but that league's going to be interesting. And I don't know how good, if any of those teams are sectional championship worthy or anything like that. But the league race should be fun to watch, and especially with Naples, looking a little vulnerable now. Dundee, Bloomfield, Honeywell all going to be in the mix, and then South Seneca kind of there scrapping on the outside. So should be an interesting league race this year.
So let's look at some of the results in Wayne County, including that Minders upset, Clyde upset in Minders. Just last night, it was East Rochester beating Boulevard Richburg 75-52. 23 points from Keith Butler, 16 points from Matt Cicero, and 13 from Casey Michelle, as ER bounces back from their loss last week at North Rose Wolcott. Lions hosted Early College at the Atwood. It was Early College winning 65-37. And Kendall defeated Marion 71-50, and that was at the Gananda tournament. Also at the Gananda tournament, the host, the Gananda Blue Panthers, beat Marion. Again, a couple of Wayne County teams there, but not a league contest. Final score 78-40. Kyle Lombardozzi, 18 points, 10 rebounds, and Ricky Mosman, 15. And then the game of the holiday break, really. It was a game that yourself and Dave Barnett called on FL1 Sports on last, Wednesday?
Tuesday, I think it was.
Tuesday night.
Yep.
And it was Clyde upsetting Minders at the Arthur L. Baker Gymnasium, 73-68. Derek Chance had 18 points and 6 assists. Trey Canale had 16 points. Jared Faniel had 15. For Minders, Ben Cafola, 22 points. Was pretty effective inside. Jake Mean, 17 points, 10 rebounds. Kellen Carraher, 10. But, it was turnover city for the Blue Devils, and you had the sense that they thought they would pull it out in the second half, but Clyde had other ideas, and a really nice win for Tim Jackson in Clyde-Savannah.
Yeah, that was a good high school game. It was a good crowd, which, I didn't know what the crowd would be like being that it's over Christmas break, but, Clyde came in and played hard, and I think Minders had a little bit of a hangover coming off of the holidays there. They're down 25-8 at the end of the first, and just really turned the ball over a ton. Just weren't able to find any rhythm. And you can kind of tell right off the bat, Minders wins the tips. They come in, and Brett Anderson missed a wide open layup, and things from there just went downhill in that first quarter. But give Minders credit; they crawled back into the game. I think they actually took a 5-point lead at one point, and then Clyde was able to come back and take the lead and maintain that lead. It was a good game. Minders big guys dominated in the paint, and I think that is the strength of this Minders team is those Cafola and Mean inside. Those guys are athletic. They're able to finish. Obviously, they need to convert their foul shots. That played a big role in the game. Minders missed a bunch. I think they missed 17, 18 free throws.
And Clyde made theirs.
Yeah, and it was a really back and forth game, and Minders, give Minders credit for crawling back into it, but a tough loss for Minders, especially when we're going to talk about it later, but when you look at sectional points, we're a B school losing to a C school, you lose a lot of points there, and the way things are shaking out, that loss could come back to haunt them down the road for sectional points.
And Clyde picks up some nice sectional points with that win too. And again, Minders was the number one team in our power rankings. Clyde was 8, so an upset that'll affect our rankings that we'll reveal at the end of the show, our updated rankings. And I was, got to give credit to Clyde. It seemed like when Minders down the stretch was kind of panicking, Clyde kept their head. They got a lot of layups. Trey Canale was really impressive, I thought, that game, Verk.
I've seen Clyde play a couple times this year, and they did look like a different team. We saw them at the chiropractic college, and it was a game that was close at halftime. Minders pulled away for a 12-point win, but I think Trey Canale made a huge difference. They were finding him in the middle of that zone. He made a couple pull-up jumpers, and he also had a couple nice drives. They put Chance on the foul line a lot. I think he attempted 12 free throws. He's a kid who you want to see him make shots from the outside. He's not a great shooter, but give Chance credit. He got to the line. He did a good job of running the team for Clyde-Savannah. And then Faniel got to the basket a couple times there late and made a couple nice layups as well.
Well, Jared Faniel sat down with Dave Barnick for the Dr. Rod Littlejohn Smiles with Style post-game after the game on Tuesday night, and let's take a listen to that interview.
Ball game in general, and of course to the victor goes the spoils. One of those heroes or fine players for Clyde-Savannah. Happy to have with us Jared Faniel. Congratulations, Jared. Great game.
Thank you.
Now, you guys were on fire early, caught them on their heels a little bit. Mm-hmm. Looked like you might just blow them right out of the gymnasium. And then they came back, and really in the third quarter and much of the fourth, it was back and forth either way. Mm-hmm. What were you thinking when that lead started to disappear?
We got to start back playing like a team. And that when we let them come back, we start passing the ball, playing as a team, quick shots, just not playing together. So we had to slow it down and get back in the game.
How much was it on the mind of you guys, or did Coach Tim Jackson bring up the fact that you opened the season and had that double-digit loss?
Yeah. You know, when we lost that first game, the first game of the season, we weren't playing together or nothing. So he told us, come out and play hard and just give it your all, and that's what we came to do.
So it's got to feel pretty good.
Yes,
little extra Christmas present here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of help from, Derek had a great game. Yep. Trey Canale, especially in the second half. Mm-hmm. You guys all contributed. What do you think was the difference tonight?
Just played together. Then the first game we didn't play together. This game we played together. We practiced on giving everybody shots, finding the open person, and that's what we did tonight.
Now, there was a strategic move late in the game. Their big guys, Cafola and Jake Mean, had big games. Mm-hmm. We're scoring almost at will in the second half.
Yeah.
They took Cafola out. He had struggled at the foul line. Were you guys prepared, if necessary, to do the hack-a-shack, so to speak?
No, Coach never bring that up, but I would have did it, though. I would have did it because he was struggling at the foul line.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure football question. I know you had a great football senior year. Mm-hmm. You have a preference of sports?
Yeah. I'm going to go to college. I'm probably go out with my brother Joey to Morrisville.
And play football.
Yep.
But you're enjoying the hoops right now.
Yes.
And it's warmer inside anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to wish you and your teammates congratulations.
Happy
holidays. Good luck the rest of the way. Got some tough games coming up.
Yes.
Northwell's Wolcott, one of them.
Yes.
But the Golden Eagles are to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm. When we play as a team, we're good.
Well, I want to thank you again. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us on Finger Lakes 1.
Thank you.
That is Jared Faniel, and one of the heroes in a great contest, 73-58.
There, that's a little better. So that was a great game by Jared Faniel and Clyde, and a huge win. One game I forgot to give the results of just last night down in Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen out of Section 4 defeated Dundee on their home court in their own tournament, 52-40. So the Upstate Hoops podcast and all our coverage of Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball is brought to you thanks to the support of Generations Bank, with locations in Auburn, Farmington, Geneva, Phelps, Seneca Falls, Union Springs, and Waterloo. Check out their mobile banking app and visit them online at mygenbank.com. And by FLCC, thinking about life after high school, get your degree at Finger Lakes Community College. And by Dr. Rod Littlejohn, delivering over 30 years of smiles with style. So, Verk, let me go split screen here because we got to talk sectionals. This is something we get excited about. Potential Wayne Finger Lakes teams making it to the big house, some postseason matchups involving Wayne Finger Lakes teams. So let's take it right from the Section 5 basketball website and pull up some standings right here. And, starting out in AA, no Wayne Finger Lakes teams, but Fairport, one of the best teams in all of Section 5, obviously, along with East High, 7-0, both 7-0. East High program with the most sectional titles in I guess every Wayne Finger Lakes team's glad they're not in this class, right?
Yeah, this class is brutal. Obviously, you got Bishop Kearney's a 12 seed. They play an independent schedule, and I think they're in Pennsylvania over the holiday break playing some teams. They're in Buffalo, they're in Albany. So obviously, you never know where they're going to fall, and they're going to present some early tournament matchup problems for some of those teams up there. But Fairport's always a stalwart. They haven't won a sectional title in I think it's been 6-7 years now. So they're looking to bounce back and get that elusive title. That's it's just so brutal up there. There's no easy games when you look at that. All those teams are very capable teams, and you got McQuaid in there. Obviously, all the private schools, the big private schools are in there. Aquinas. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
You got to hand it to Victor at 6-3. Good start to their season.
Yeah, they're having a great year so far.
So now if we just quickly look at Class A1, again, no Wayne Finger Lakes teams, but teams we might be seeing up at the Blue Cross Arena. Greece Athena, alma mater of John Wallace, leading the way. They're 8-1 with a sizable lead over Irondequoit and Pittsburgh. And then Canandaigua as well with a winning record right now in the top half of that classification. So it's nice to see our former Finger Lakes East mates, Victor and Canandaigua, starting to have some success, because since that move, Virk, they just have not been.
Yeah, obviously Monroe County is a little different than the Finger Lakes, and there's no easy games in Monroe County, and those schools have gotten so big, they really obviously don't belong in the Finger Lakes. So probably a good move from them. But, for basketball-wise, for both those schools, it's been a little bit of a struggle. But, Greece Athena is the class of that classification. They have a Division I player in Anthony Lamb. I think he's going to the University of Rhode Island. Probably a favorite for Section 5 Player of the Year this year.
Right. So let's kick it down now so we can start talking about some Finger Lakes schools, and might as well keep it in order and go to A2. Where you have Geneva and Wayne, and this is a situation, Virk, where these two schools, Geneva and Wayne, both are just in a tough position up in A2 with Newark no longer in A2. They dropped down to B1 this year. But, you saw what College Prep and UPrep have done when they've been matched up against top Finger Lakes teams, and Wayne and Geneva not in the top half of the standings right now in the Finger Lakes East. So, would you give either of these teams any chance to make a run in A2?
I don't think so. Geneva's down this year, obviously. They were able to win it a couple years ago. Obviously, they had a tremendous team, and they made a great run. But, this year, obviously, Geneva's struggling. Wayne is young. Maybe in a couple years, Wayne can, pull this when these freshmen and sophomores, they get a little bit older. Maybe Wayne will be able to compete in that classification. But, you got a Wilson team that's 3-6 who beat Paul Mack and Newark early on this season, as a 8 seed right now. So that kind of speaks to the strength of that classification.
So now we can kick it on down to B1. And this is where it's going to start to get interesting here, as we have a ton of Wayne Finger Lakes teams in B1 right now, including Pal Mac, who's currently the 2nd seed, Mid Lakes, the 4th seed at 6-3, and then Newark, Penn Yan, and Waterloo also in the mix. And there's a pretty good chance we're going to see some local matchups here in B1.
Yeah, obviously, they got 4 or 5 teams from Finger Lakes East in there, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe 2 matchups between, Finger Lakes East teams. And, Hornell, they're more known as a football school, but, doing well in basketball this year. And then, you throw in Livonia's traditionally strong. They got a great little point guard that we've seen play. Palmyra is tough with all the good guards they got. Newark, Mid Lakes, Penn Yan. Leadership was a team that went to Glens Falls last year. Obviously, they had some losses, but then you got a Waterloo team who could be dangerous right now, sitting at a 9 seed. So that will be interesting, and obviously we'll watch that classification close with all the Finger Lakes East teams in there.
Yeah, and I think Livonia beat Palmac earlier this year, and Newark.
And I look for, Newark sits there at 5-4 as a 5 seed. I think they're a team that's going to move up. They played a pretty tough out-of-conference schedule this year, and, 3 of their losses are out-of-conference, out of the league. So, I look for them to make a good run here. Mid Lakes will probably slide down a little bit. They're going to lose a few more games in the East, obviously. So, that'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out.
Yeah, Newark coming off this week, going up to Rush Henrietta, playing a couple A schools. That can only help you. Sure. Come sectional time. Not going to help your record, but, the record is not important as the league titles or sectional titles. So Bob Havrilla prepping his team like he usually does with a tough out-of-league schedule. And even Penn Yan has bounced back a little bit over the past couple of weeks. And as you mentioned, Waterloo seems like if they can figure out their chemistry issues, they have the talent to make a run at any of these teams. So certainly B1 will be interesting, but maybe not as interesting as B2, which is what we've been talking about all year. North Rose and Minders been atop our power rankings for most of the year, and it's kind of a matchup that we're hoping to see either in the semifinals or finals. North Rose versus Minders, and then Marcus Whitman sitting there at 7. A little disappointing. They certainly can improve to return to the sectional semifinals where they lost last year to North Rose Wolcott, just one game shy of the Blue Cross Arena. But clearly, North Rose and Minders is the matchup that we're hoping for at some point.
Yeah, that's we obviously, being from Seneca Falls, we follow Minders closely. And we talked about it. I don't know a whole lot about Attica. Obviously, we don't get out that way too often. But
Wellsville's a big spoiler here.
Wellsville has a great point guard. We saw him play last year, and I was looking at some of the scores, and I saw they had lost to Livonia, but he had 32 points. So those 1 through 4 schools they're going to be great matchups if those seeds hold par, and we see and we were talking about a little before the show that Minders now that lost to Clyde, they lose a couple more. They could slide down into the 4 spot even, and then you might see a North Rose Minders game and over in Waterloo or something in the semis. I'm not sure how Coach White would feel about that, but
right.
That would most likely be the site.
Well, it's still not a long drive for North Rose either. I mean, North Rose really turned out last year against.
Sure. I think they'll travel well. It's just Minders plays there regularly. Mm-hmm. And obviously North Rose had a good game there last year as well. But it would be fun to see how these matchups shake out.
RCMCS also
right.
in there,
and that's the other reason that I think Minders wants to avoid sliding down the 4 is not if RCMCS stays at that 5 spot, that's a team who has struggled a little bit this year. They got 15 games in or 13 games in already this year at 6 and 7. But, a team that, we saw play last year, they got some very capable players. And, if they get hot, they're capable of winning a couple games in that classification as well.
All righty, let's move it down into the C classes now. No C3, just C1 and C2 this year, a little different than last year. And this is a team, this is a class in C1 that doesn't have any big favorites out of the Wayne Finger Lakes, but you'll notice East Rochester coming in at 4. And Clyde-Savannah up to 6. And these, I should mention, updated January 1st. So the last class we showed you, B2 there, does not include Clyde's win over it does include that. It doesn't include, what the heck? Any games played.
Waterloo's win.
Yeah, okay. So that would affect Sodas in here. Sodas is at 11. Bloomfield, Red Creek, Gananda, right in the middle. Right in the middle here, you got 6 Clyde, 7 Bloomfield, 8 Red Creek, 9 Gananda, and then 11 Soda. So a ton of Wayne Finger Lakes teams, but, can Bloomfield or Red Creek or Gananda compete with, early college in Avon?
Yeah, Pembroke, Avon, early college. Obviously I don't know much about Pembroke, Avon. We saw early college. I don't know. They might be the favorite out of this right now. ER is tough again. I know you got to watch them play. They bring it every night. They're well coached, and they made a run to the finals last year. So this will be very interesting. The way Clyde played the other night, they're going to be tough out come sectional time as well. If they continue to play together and play like they did that night. Then you get some of these World of Inquiry, teams that it's tough to judge. But this will be interesting as well.
And then down to Class C2 here, where we have Dundee, maybe the class of the Wayne Finger Lakes in C2, along with Red Jacket is a 9 seed, South Seneca 14, Lions 15, Marion 17. Out of all these teams, you'd like to think Dundee has a decent chance to make a run. And I've said it for a while. I still think even Lions at 1 and 8, if they can get it together in the second half of the season, can make a run in C2. And this is where it's different than, A2 for Geneva or the B classes for Minders. a team from the bottom has more of a chance to make a run here because the teams at the top, although North Star Christian and Geneseo obviously very good, but you still could make a run as a lower-seeded team to get to the semis and see what happens once you get there.
Sure, obviously there's some teams with some very good records. You don't know the strength of some of these leagues. North Star Christian's a private school. Don't know a whole lot about them either. But, Lions could win a few games. I think they're going to get a first-round matchup that they're, going to be very capable of winning, and then who knows from there. But that's going to be another interesting classification, and see how that all shakes out.
And then we can now drop it down to the Ds, where real quickly here in D1 you got HAC at 16 seed, but then you have Naples at the 4 seed. And Naples not as great as the last year's team that went 19-1. They were 19-0 before losing to our CMCS in the semifinals in Bloomfield last year. Can they get back? Notre Dame, Batavia looks good, but York, Genesee Valley, Mount Morris, all very good. So and also Honeywell, resurgent at 9 seed right now in D1.
Look out for Vetus.
Yeah, Virtus.
Who you can't see the R in there. Okay,
exactly who they are. But new charter school in Rochester at 2 and 3. And then if we just scroll down here to Class D2, there's just one team in here, and that would be Romulus at 15 seed. We can't even scroll down that far at 0 and 8. So probably don't like Romulus's chances.
No.
So it's that time of year again where we start wanting to look at these sectional standings from week to week and start looking at some of the potential matchups. And because that's the ultimate goal for any of these teams is to get to the Blue Cross Arena and sectional finals. And speaking of postseason play, Verk, what do you think about the decision? This is the last year in Glens Falls. I mean, it's been there a while. That's where you guys won your state championship in '92, and now it's going to move down to Binghamton. You have any thoughts on that move?
Yeah, I think you missed the nostalgia of Glens Falls since that's where it's been for so many years, and a good venue there. I think the Civic Center is kind of a little bit dated. They're going to bring it up to Binghamton and play at the War Memorial there or whatever that arena is called. But I think that's a little bit more updated. Personally, it's a little nicer for I'd be more willing to take a ride down to Binghamton to catch some games, and obviously driving up.
Yeah.
We made that drive to Glens Falls last year. That's a hike, but I don't mind moving it. It's still centrally located within the state, and a little closer for us. So I look forward to getting down there at some point and seeing some of these games.
Yeah, I certainly think for us here in Seneca Falls, Central Finger Lakes, it's easier to say, hey, let's go check out some of these games. How long a drive was it to Glens Falls? 2.5, 3 hours?
Yeah, it's good. It's 3 hours. Yeah, it's a good 3 hours.
Yeah, so Binghamton just a little under 2, so a little bit closer. And but the facilities at Glens Falls were outdated, but I tell you, a great atmosphere inside the arena. Once you're inside, it's kind of like almost a mini, more compact Blue Cross Arena.
Yeah, it's a great venue. It got great memories there, and obviously a lot of New York State high school basketball players have a lot of great memories there. So you lose a little bit of that, but go to a new venue and new memories will be made, obviously, and I'm sure they'll have a great venue there. And a lot of it boils down to money, and I guess Binghamton offered a great financial package for the state, New York State basketball. So they won the bid, and we'll see how it goes there.
And that has to hurt Glens Falls economy just a little bit. So many people coming from all over the state and filling up hotel rooms and eating at restaurants. So
I think they're still getting the Federation tournament there the week after states.
Oh, no kidding.
But at least for the next couple of years, I think they're hosting the Federation still.
Well, let's move ahead to our players of the week this week. A couple of Finger Lakes East players getting the honors this week. Verk, who do you got?
Ben Deming from Waterloo. Waterloo had a big week, obviously 3 wins and 24 points, 14 rebounds against Geneva, and then came back with 15 and 10 versus Red Jacket, 21 points, 12 rebounds versus Sodas. And these are kind of the numbers we expect out of him. 20 points, 10 rebounds. There's been games this year where he's been held to single digits, and that's it. If he's going to be held to single digits, Waterloo's not going to win, which was the case early on. So I think he's being a little more assertive. I think they're starting to look for him a little bit more, and he's got them on a 3-game win streak right now.
And I got to tell you, 12 rebounds last night against Sodas. I thought he had 12 rebounds in the first quarter. I questioned the bookkeeper there. I might go back and watch the webcast and count them because I honestly felt like I was half counting the rebounds. I thought he had 20-something rebounds. He seemed to get everything. So congratulations, Big Ben Deming, Player of the Week. My Player of the Week coming from Pal Mac, Holden Knorr, 25 points, 7 3-pointers in a loss to College Prep, 15 points, 5 threes in the win over Greece Olympia. And so that's 12 threes in 2 games. I mean, this kid can flat out shoot it. And he's going to be the one that needs to get hot from the outside for Pal Mac to contend in the second half of the season in the East, which is super tight right now with Newark, Pal Mac, and Minders all with 1 league loss. And then, coming into sectionals, if Newark can shoot 3-pointers at that clip, Pal Mac and Dan Harris's squad going to be a really tough out. So congratulations, Ben and Holden, our Upstate Hoops podcast Players of the Week. So, Verk, time now to take a look at our updated power rankings in girls Super 6. Let me start it out first with the Super 6 and get it right up there. And you can see here we have Wayne, undisputed, number 1, without a doubt. And then after that, it gets a little more convoluted. South Seneca jumping all the way up to number 2, just with all these impressive victories, defeating Minders last week and defeating Romulus.
They beat Newark as well in a non-league game.
So Heather Mott, South Seneca Falcons, representing the West and the south end of Seneca County up to number 2. And then it really is very difficult to sort the rest of these teams out. Geneva at 3, Gananda at 4, Minders at 5, and Mid-Lakes at 6. And now Geneva beat Minders, Mid-Lakes beat Geneva, Minders beat Mid-Lakes, Gananda beat Mid-Lakes. I mean, you can't make any sense of it. So as the votes come in, we just kind of are taking shots at the dark here, but maybe over the next couple of weeks that might become a little clearer.
Well, Minders Geneva play again Wednesday, and I think Geneva's had some injuries there, so that the first time Geneva kind of handled them pretty good. So look for Minders, get them on their home court, and I'm sure Coach Anderson will have his girls ready. That's a big game. I know that if they're going to contend for that league title, they're going to have to beat Geneva Wednesday.
So let's kick it ahead now to the boys' top 10 power rankings and much anticipated poll this week. With the number 1 team, Minders, losing to Clyde-Savannah. And so let's take a look and see how that is shaken out. Got 10 Penn 9 Naples, 2 out-of-league losses, dropping them from 6 to 9 this week. The Mid-Lakes up 1 from 9 to 8. Dundee falls 1 from 6 to 7. Clyde, with that big win, jumps up a couple spots to 6. And ER, who had beat Clyde earlier this year, at 5. And then you got the 4-3-2, Newark, Minders, Pal Mac. Minders falling from 1 to 3 with that loss, and Pal Mac, the beneficiary, up to number 2. North Rose Wolcott, finally. There's been a lot of people saying, look, North Rose Wolcott should be number 1. Well, there you have it. The new number 1 in the power rankings, the North Rose Wolcott Cougars, the only undefeated team left in the Wayne Finger Lakes. And, part of it was they got that big win at home against East Rochester. A lot of people wanted to see how that game played out maybe before they gave them the number 1 vote. And then, North Rose beat Clyde pretty bad the first time they played, and I just can't see North Rose losing to Clyde the way Minders did. I think it's clearly they deserve number 1.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I think, North Rose has played themselves into that position. They got some big wins. They beat Clyde. They beat ER. They've played well all season, and they've handled most of the Wayne County teams by double digits. I think they're in a good position there at the number 1 spot, and I look for them to maintain that throughout the rest of the year.
The other thing I look at here is, and something we talk about a lot, is the leagues. Which league's better than that league? And heading into this season, the East clearly would be the best league, you'd think. But, out of the top 6, it's split 3-3, and you got Clyde beating supposedly the best team in the East in Minders, and North Rose being the cream of the crop. even when you get down a little lower, it took Waterloo overtime to beat Sodus, last night. So even the bottom of the league, I'm not telling you, obviously Waterloo's better than Marion and probably Williamson.
I think top to bottom of the East is still, without a doubt, the best league. When there's no gimmies necessarily. I know Waterloo hasn't won a league game yet, but Waterloo would be 500 at least in Wayne County, I would think. The top teams in each league could all beat each other, obviously, and I think Wayne County kind of proved that. Big win by Clyde over Minders. ER could probably compete or beat Minders, Palmac, or Newark, on any given night. Obviously, they did it last year in sectionals. I just think the strength of the East is their depth. There's no when you're looking at Minders, Newark, Palmac, or up top, then coming back with Mid Lakes beat Lions. There's a lot of
Penn Yan in the top 10 as well.
The thing in the East is there's just no gimmies. Where some of these other leagues, the bottom teams are pretty bad and it's struggling this year. So I think the East still is the top to bottom best league. But any of these top three teams from any of the leagues could beat each other.
So there you have it. Congratulations, North Rose Wolcott taking the top spot. It'll be theirs to lose. They may not lose it for the rest of the regular season. ER is going to playing at ER is going to be a tough game for them. They got Clyde again. I can't remember if they're going to have Clyde at home or on the road, but that'll be a tough one. The rivalry game against Red Creek, another challenge for North Rose. And then as far as the East goes, the second half of the season is going to be great, watching Palmac, Minders, and Newark battle it out and maybe see if Mid Lakes can get back into the mix in the East. So it should be a great second half of the season as we are just about a little over 1 month away from postseason play. And if I can give you quickly the week ahead as we get back into full swing of action in league play after couple weeks of holiday tournaments and some out-of-conference games. Starting out on Monday, Greece Odysseys at Waterloo, Hornells at Penn Yan, Port Byron's at Minders, and kind of a weird game there. South Seneca at Mid Lakes, Destiny Christian at Honeoye, Lions takes on Bloomfield in Bloomfield, and Cato Meridian travels to Red Creek. Then on Wednesday night, Geneva's at Minders. That's a boys-girls doubleheader starting at 6 o'clock. Marcus Whitman's at Penn Yan, Honeoye's at Dundee, and then in the game on FL1 Sports, it's Naples traveling to South Seneca. Brendan Harrington, Tane Robinson, and Kevin Korzaneski have the call in a three-man booth from the Jack Guinan Arena. Red Jackets at HAC, Romulus is at Bloomfield, Clyde-Savannah's at Marion, Ganonda's at East Rochester. North Rose Wolcott in their first game is number 1 here in our Power Rankings, travels to Sodus, who, by the way, Sodus without Andrew Hines for the remainder of the season. One of their best players. Not exactly sure the story behind that, but Andrew Hines is out for the year. Williamson at Red Creek. And then Friday night, it's Geneva at Newark. It could be a test for Newark. Anybody that's playing Geneva can't look past them despite their record so far this year. And then a big game for Mid Lakes as they travel to Wayne. Mid Lakes still needing to prove themselves to the rest of the East after the hot start, cooled down subsequently there in the middle of December. So they'll head up to Ontario to face the Eagles. And then in another game on FL1 Sports, it's Minders at Waterloo. Again, that's a girls-boys doubleheader too, so our coverage will start at 6 o'clock, and Harold Weber, Michael Alessio, and yourself, Verk, will have the call there in Waterloo. Big rivalry game. Palmac at Penn Yan on Friday night. Bloomfield at Naples, HAC at Romulus, Marcus Whitman at Red Jacket, South Seneca at Honeoye, Lions travels to Williamson, hoping to pick up that second win. Marion at North Rose Wolcott, Red Creek at Clyde, and that should be a decent game.
Yeah.
And Sodus at Ganonda, and then Saturday Marcus Whitman travels to Livonia. So, Verk, a bunch of good games there as we get back into the swing of things. Again, the highlights being Minders Waterloo, Mid Lakes Wayne, and that Ganonda East Rochester game on Wednesday night's a pretty big one. And how give Waterloo any chance against Minders?
Sure. When you got a kid like Ben Deming who's capable of getting you, he can control the inside against the other Minders bigs. He presents problems, and I still like Minders to win that game, but Waterloo's going to have to hit some threes and play within themselves, and get some confidence. I think early on, I think the first quarter of that game is going to be huge with Waterloo's past record against Minders. I can't think of the last time they beat Minders. So obviously if Minders comes out and jumps all over them, Waterloo just might feel like here we go again. So I think Waterloo needs to come out and be ready to play in that game.
Yeah, and I will say this before we get out of here about both Minders and Waterloo. I think they're both teams that haven't played to their potential of their roster, and I think a lot of the reason is chemistry, not having roles defined. Maybe some people on the team thinking that they should have a bigger role than some of the other guys. And I saw it at the end of that Minders-Clyde game. The last possession, Minders had the ball down 3, and nobody knew what to do with it. The better teams, I think, in those situations know what the plan is. Even without the coach telling you, they know who you want to get the shot and where. And it seemed like with Minders, anybody could have took it, and in a way that's a good thing that you have so many players who you'd have confidence to step up in that type of situation, but still nobody knew who was going to take it. Could have been anybody. It was dysfunctional a little bit. Yeah,
Minders is pretty unique in that, they're 7-8 deep, and, they're all pretty equal. So, they need to I still think they're a very capable team, and, I think their best basketball is ahead of them. But they need somebody to be not necessarily even the leader in scoring points or anything like that, but just a vocal leader, somebody to take over and and really make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
And I think that might be the difference with North Rose when you watch them play. Everybody on that team is fine to say Tyler Norris is our go-to guy. He's the guy that we're looking to lead us in score every night. And then Garrett Hoyt, kind of the team's emotional and vocal leader, and then everybody else in that starting 5, especially Connor Pendleton, Luke Gerstner, Elijah Durham. Everybody seems to know their role, be happy with it, and nobody's really looking at the individual stat lines or deciding how many times you're gonna shoot. They just kind of run their offense, and I think that's the biggest thing that separates North Rose Wolcott from the top teams in the East right now, is just that they have that chemistry. They everybody knows their roles, and they play consistently because of it. Where I think all the teams, Palmac, Newark, and Minders, inconsistent. You don't know exactly what you're going to get each night. So
yeah, and I think as the season goes along, you're going to see those teams, hopefully find that consistency and look to step up their play another notch.
Right. So well, thanks Vic for coming in Sunday morning a little bit earlier this week. We're usually on at 10. This week at 9, and I'm not sure exactly what time we'll be back next week, or who's going to be here in studio if we'll have any guests. Last couple of weeks we had some great shows with some guys from North Rose in 2 weeks ago and from Palmac last week. So, we'll see what next week brings. Check out the front page of FingerLakes1.com for the live webcast start time. And so thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Upstate Hoops podcast on FingerLakes1.tv. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher.com. We'll see you back here next Sunday. Until then, for my co-host Matt Verkey, I'm Jim Sinacropi. Have a great week.